Hello and welcome back to Granted Gardens. So I believe it was about 11 months ago or so, we posted a video on starting to do composting, a compost pile in the backyard here. I'll be honest, we've neglected it. We've neglected it. We set it up, we put a tarp over it, we turned it maybe twice, and then just left the tarp all winter long. So I wanted to show you guys kind of where we're at, and a quick overview. So here's the pile that was under the tarp. It definitely was breaking down quite a bit. It's not fully composted. We still got some big chunks in here. You can definitely still see parts of the chicken bedding, but for the most part, I mean, I think it's fairly usable. I will probably add this to some of my garden beds this year. So the tarp situation turned out well. Now, had we actually kept up with it, it would probably be perfect at this point. So I would say, just based off of our little experiment that we did here with very little upkeep, the tarp concept was a win. I think it would be perfect had we kept up with it. Now, Tyler had started his own compost pile about the same time that I started that one, and he did not put a tarp over it, so I want to show you guys what that one looks like. So here's Tyler's compost pile that he started. Again, it doesn't look too bad, but definitely a little bit more material here than you see in the other one. It has some of the other stuff really here. It hasn't broken down quite as much, but it's still working. So if you don't do the tarp concept, just a pile with the right ingredients can still get you somewhere. It just might take a little longer. So we also started, here we are, this pile right here about the same time. Now this really wasn't, there was no effort that really went into this. We kind of just piled stuff up. And we didn't really turn it. We didn't follow the recipe for this. We just kind of piled some stuff up. Tyler did turn it a bit, but there's not much going on here as far as composting goes at all. So we had banana leaves in here, which you can see are not broken down at all. We kind of just had, greens, browns, but we really didn't concoct it with the correct recipe, and it is still sitting here entirely. So as a takeaway from those three piles, you definitely want to make sure that you follow a proper recipe when doing the compost, and I'll make sure I link the video of when we started this pile here at the top and then in the description at the bottom. Now, the one last compost pile we have was something that we set up many, many years ago. And essentially what we did was we just took a couple pallets, put them together, and just made two separate compost sections. Initially when we did this, the concept was to have one section full of compost and then be able to turn it to the open section. However, we never turned it. We just stacked stuff up on it. So this is years worth of kitchen compost, chicken bedding. We've got some plants that we kind of dumped out in here after the season was over. And this is what that looks like. Now, on top, you're not really seeing much happening here at all. If you kind of dig down more into the base of this, it is broken down quite a bit. Once you dig down into the base, you kind of get more to something like this. So this is a whole nother way of doing a compost pile. This is kind of the lazy man's way. Don't expect a quick turnaround. Again, the pallet concept is a decent concept. I've seen people be very successful with it, but you do have to keep up on the turning. The turning is important, making sure that you're adding water and keeping that green-brown ratio healthy in order for it to really move forward quickly. This honeysuckle is coming along rather nicely. Ever since we kind of cleared this space out a bit a couple years ago, this honeysuckle has really started to thrive. We picked a lot from this last year, so I'm looking forward to that. One thing that I think is really important to do, especially if you have property like we do, is to walk your property pretty regularly, especially throughout the different seasons, so that you kind of get a feel for what you have available to you. We've done wild foraging in these backwoods. We plant stuff back here. Obviously you see the setup that we're doing with the compost piles. We really try to utilize as much of the land as we possibly can. We started some garden beds back here last year that failed epically, but I've got some new ideas for them this year, so we're going to try that out. You'll see more information in videos to come. But Tyler and I were kind of walking the property today, and we came across something, a little surprise.
I'm gonna go try to get the dogs to come that way.
I can't believe they missed that.
He's probably hurt or sick.
Okay. Hi, baby. So we have a lot of wildlife back here, and fox really is one that we see a lot of. So I'm a little worried about him. Not sure how long he'll last back here, but unfortunately it's kind of a part of life. And so we're gonna just try and leave him alone for a little while and hope that either mama comes back for him or he gains his strength back. So just as a refresher, our property is about 1.5 acres. And we really only utilize, I would say, easily like 1/3 of that, maybe, between the front yard, backyard, and the house area. The rest of this is all wooded. We've tried to get creative with ways to utilize this. And again, you know, we just recently kind of started growing mushrooms back here, which was a great resource because we were able to come back here and supply the wood that was needed for the mushroom tower right here off of our own property. So it's important to know what you've got and how to properly utilize it. However, you really don't know what you have until you walk through it, and you're gonna get different resources at different times of the year. So the honeysuckle we discovered, I believe it was last summer. We really didn't even know we had that. We now have a second honeysuckle bush that showed up last summer as well, which I'll show you here in a second. But you know, walking through the woods right now at this time of year in April, if you didn't know what you're looking for, you wouldn't know those were honeysuckle bushes. So this is kind of the time of the year where people start to kind of clear out their spaces. But I would say, you know, tread lightly, and if you weren't paying attention to what was growing in like the summer last year, you're not going to know exactly what you're clearing out this year. So this is a much bigger one, which was an awesome find, and it really took clearing out some of the overgrown deadness and some of the trees in order for this to get sunlight, in order for it to thrive. So that was a fun find. Glad we got that. It's always so amazing for me to walk through at this time of the year when it's still fairly nice out, but nothing has really taken off yet. It just looks so bare. This will all be massively overgrown to the point where you can't even see to the other trail on the side in the summertime. So it turns into a really beautiful place, but right now, like I said, is a great time to walk through, just get an idea of what you have available to you as far as resources go. We did cut out a trail that kind of goes down the property, circles, and comes back up. We like walking through here with the dogs just to get us kind of away from everyday stuff. It's pretty peaceful, quiet, and just a nice little walk. So here's the back end of the big garden that we put in here in the woods. Not sure what's going there this year. And then over there is the littler garden that we put in. I think I'm gonna do berry bushes in here this year. We're gonna have plenty. We started those elderberries, and then I brought some blackberries and raspberries. I think we'll do pretty decent back here. We have a ton of blackberry bushes that just grow wild back here all the time. So I have faith that they'll do okay in that bed. We're probably going to go through and dig up some of the wild blackberries that we have back here and put them in the bed. Some of them are growing in the walkways and such, so they're going to have to come out anyways. I also really want to clear out underneath of this honeysuckle bush. I just think this would be a really pretty spot, but there's a lot of junk and down trees here, so I'd like to do that. Maybe we'll do that today. And if you can believe it or not, it was literally hailing here like 2 hours ago. And now the sun's out and it's beautiful. What a crazy time of year. It might be hard to see, but this here is a blackberry bush that you can see is coming up there. There's another one right here. that are underneath of this honeysuckle tree. Those would be decent ones to dig out and move. I always find such random stuff back here. Lots of bottles. I had a pretty big win the other day. I was back here cleaning some stuff out and I actually came across old ball jars buried in the woods back here. Just laying around. So I was excited about that. Cleaned those up real good. Well, I think that's the update for today. I'm gonna go check in with Tyler and see if he feels like working on anything. Maybe break the chainsaw out and start stacking some wood. If you're doing compost, please mention it below. I want to know how you guys are doing it and how well it's going for you. It's definitely an art. So if you have any special recommendations or any advice, we're all ears. Feel free to share it with us. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon.